Class, one of the things that we're doing is creating a series of real world uh, uh, conversations so that you can get a chance to meet people who are actually principals and teachers and even some students. And today we have with us Dr. Ernie Rosado, who is the principal of Gulf Shores High School. Gulf Shores is in Baldwin County, Alabama. They are participating in the Digital Renaissance effort where every student has a Mac and every teacher has a Mac, and they're doing inquiry-based learning, challenge-based, project-based, whatever we want to call it. And they really are trying to tie into the real world in which they live. So I'm really delighted to have you with us, Dr. Rosado, and it's going to be a fun time to talk about these things.
I'm glad, and thank you for having me. And it's a great time for all of us. You know. So, digital renaissance has created an avenue for change, not just in digital, but in the way we do things. And here's a few things that have happened. And for the teachers, it's been hard. I can tell you, John. Not hard in the sense that they can't handle it, hard in the sense that they've, like you have alluded to before, they were taught a different way how to teach. And now we're telling them, hey, we need to change it, and we need to not just lecture, we need to start working on projects, we need to start working on real world applications. And that's scary for a teacher because they had their book, they would have their course of study, and they had a teacher's manual and or a teacher edition book. And they were very comfortable with. I was comfortable. I taught for 4 years before going into administration. So I understand their process. But now giving them a MacBook, giving the students a MacBook has elevated or the expectation of what we need to provide to the students. They want more. I have a fourth grader, like I said, and her older sister had a MacBook and she didn't have a MacBook, and we were talking third grade.
How much older? Oh, so 2 grades?
Old.
Yeah, 2 years
Yeah,
older.
2 grades. It was 2 grades difference. Yeah. And this is what I would see in the living room. The one with the MacBook was researching, doing iMovies, was on the kitchen table, was researching, and then the younger one would ask the older one, well, what are you doing? And she would just sit next to her to see what she was doing, and she was just picking it up immediately.
And I guess she really wanted to be part of that process too, right?
That's right. She wanted to have her own MacBook. And
Right.
That's what's occurred at the high school too, because now the students, several things, students are on all the same level in the sense of how they are taught through the technology. Everybody has their MacBook and everybody has the same capabilities. And then now it is our responsibility as administrators and teachers to teach them. And this is what I've taught. I've told the teacher that I was teaching for 25 years, and she was in my office. And she said, well, I've been doing this the same way for 25 years, and my scores are good and everything else. And I said, so-and-so, teacher, I don't want you to change. I want you to be a better teacher, but you got to change the way you reach the kids in today's world.
Right.
And if you don't change in the way we're reaching them, we will miss out, and we're doing a disservice to all our students. And that MacBook, whatever it is, MacBook, PC, or whatever, the technology has let us get to that level. Now, yes, there's been some bumps in the road because we've been trying to teach our teachers, we've been trying to teach our kids, but I can tell you now, John, the transformation at Gulf Shores High School has been amazing in the sense that with iPhones, iPads, and MacBooks, the students they want so much more than just, hey, a lecture. You
Right.
know, they want
So
that project based type
right.
stuff.
So now you're going to, as principal, one of your responsibilities is to go sit in on classes, right?
Right. Hmm.
So tell us how it was before and how it is now. Compare the
This
two.
that's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up because before I'd walk in, look at a class, see what's going on. All right, is there any discipline problems? Do they have their lesson plans? And then I'd just move on.
So
Now,
you found a class that probably the teacher was lecturing and the seats were all in a row, right?
all in a row, nothing. They were doing a good job. They were teaching some of the concepts and all the academic areas and then the electives, but there wasn't that elevation or that umph of the rigor or what's going on. And now I can say this year I feel like I've been the best instructional leader. And I know they give us that title all the time as a principal, but
Right.
this is what I've done now. Now I walk into a classroom with an iPad. All right. All our lessons are on a Moodle, a Blackboard,
Right.
information system that colleges use and everything. Every day, every lesson is put in there, and the students can bring it up. I can bring it up. A parent can bring it up. Anybody can, as long as they have the passwords, they can get in. And now the teachers are responsible for everything that happens in the classroom, and it is on that technology. Then I check to see what's on the grades, to make sure the grades are there. Then I can check the lesson plans through the Moodle, and then I check anything happening in the classroom. So with the devices, one of the things that we have some faults in, some teachers are using the devices just not as a tool, but just like a worksheet on a computer.
Uh,
All right. That's what we're trying to get away from. Not all the teachers, but some of them were getting. They were just putting the information on the computer, and that was
right.
it. And now the students have been asking for more for more information and the way it's delivered. So this is what we've been transforming, and it's happening. Our teachers are now working on project-based or inquiry-based type
Right.
projects. I'll give you an example. I had a geometry class working on, we have our three schools here, Gulf Shores High School, Gulf Shores Middle, and Gulf Shores Elementary.
Yeah, they're
They're
all
all
in a row
in a row.
almost. Yeah.
Yeah, right there, just across the
That's neat.
street.
That's a really interesting way to arrange the
And
school.
that's right. So with that brings a traffic problem, major traffic
I bet
problem.
so.
That's right. So our geometry class, our geometry teacher took it upon herself. They started working. How do they resolve the traffic problem through geometry in our Gulf Shores feeder pattern? It was amazing. I had never seen how enthused these kids were trying to solve the problem with plots, triangles. I mean, they were trying to come up with different roads. It was amazing because they brought in
Real
uh,
world.
real world. It was
Right.
because they're living it. They're coming in through the traffic in the morning, and they're living, and they were trying to see how we can change. So we brought a city engineer in. We brought our resource officer in. They brought the administrators in, and we all had conversation. And they presented it to the city council.
Hey, that's
So
great.
that lived it up. I'll give you another example, and there's a lot of examples, and I just can't give you all of them. English class.
Yep.
We had an English class that we partnered with our Audiovisual Academy. We have the Sports Commission down here, and they were having a big event, the finals for the NIA independent school colleges. Soccer finals were here in December, first week of December last year. And they asked our
So you're a
AD.
mini Brazil, is that right?
Yes, right. Yeah, that was it. It was here. And they asked our English, we wanted to get not just the career academies involved, and they did the audio taping and they did the videotaping of some of the sports events during that week. but they wanted to get the. I asked them, hey, can we get the English class involved? And they said, well, how do we get an English class involved with a soccer championship, a college soccer championship? And so we brought the English teacher in. We all sat around the table, and that's the best way to do it. Let the teachers and the event planners discuss it. And this is what they came up. They had the English students, that one class. So I selected a 12th grade class because they were a little bit more mature and everything in writing skills. They wrote the opening and closing script for that event,
Right.
and they had students come in and listen to it during the event. They did an outstanding job. That they asked the sports commission asked the teacher to write a article for their magazine about what goes on in Gulf Shores Orange Beach through the eyes of a teenager.
Oh, wow. So the kids in school are writing this article or wrote the article for the magazine then.
For the magazine,
So
that's
they're published
distributed
author.
they're published to
Yeah.
the sports commission, and so they had four different groups, and one group won, and their article is posted on the that's my phone here,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
And they posted it in that magazine, so they're published at age 17, 16, 17.
Wow, that's great.
Published.
So,
So those are the real world
yeah,
stuff
and
uh,
that gets kids excited more than sitting and listening to a lecture by a long shot, right?
so in the hallways, students right now, we let them use their cell phones, we let them use their computers or anything. There is no chaos. It is as calm. I don't even have kids calling kids because their friends are all here. They just listen to music. It's just
No
like
kidding. So you mean
like
the technology and the availability of it has really reduced the discipline problems and the
the discipline. Our referrals the first year were reduced by 350 referrals. And you know how much time a referral takes for an assistant principal or a principal to
I
work
don't,
on?
but I bet it's a lot.
It's a lot of time finding out the facts, who's the fault, did it really happen, and then assign the consequence, calling parents and letting them know. So about a little over 350 less the first year.
Gee.
That is giving us time to get in the classroom and to help kids instead of doing
Record keeping.
record keeping. So
Well, that is a real surprise to me that we'd have that much of a decline, and you attribute that to I guess several things: the technology and the new way of teaching, and the real world emphasis, and not boredom in classes, and everything like that.
right.
I suppose, right?
I think all I can't pinpoint it to one thing,
Right,
but technology's got to be the number one factor. And also, we added 10 career academies at the high school,
right.
and I think with all of that, that they have realized the students, wow, it's good to come to school. I got a lot of neat things I'm working on.
Well, let me.
That's
You say that they say it's neat to come to school. Let me ask you another question. Do you think that the technology and the new way of teaching that you're doing at Gulf Shores High School has affected attendance at all?
Yes, it has. Now, we have a problem. Attendance in the fall is better than attendance in the spring here on the beach. I can tell you that.
Does the beach have?
Because once
So the
we get
beach
into
has an effect?
the spring.
What are there magnets out on that beach or something?
That's right. But it has increased. I think about 2%, and it has to be attributed to these things that we are doing to bringing reality back to the high school and bringing that rigor and just the real world projects that we're working on.
This has been really great. Just an absolutely super opportunity to talk to you, and I hope we'll get to do it again. I'm excited about what you're doing down there. You know that. And I can tell that you're excited too. That's really
I
great.
love it. It's never a dull moment, and it's the right thing to do for our students. And one of the things I tell my students all the time, And if you come up to any student when you walk into school, ask them what Dr. Rosado says every time, do the right thing.
Right.
So if they're doing the right thing, we need to do the right thing to teach them.
That's great.